Yeah, so welcome to today's discussion on OT cybersecurity for manufacturing. Today we have with us Parna Ghosh, Vice President and Uno Minda Group. Welcome to the show, Parna.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, and we also have with us Alan Sanchez, EMEA, CISO and Senior Evangelist for Fortinet.
Delighted to be with you this afternoon.
Yeah, so actually, after COVID and this coronavirus crisis has come, one of the hot topics is cybersecurity. Because if you remember, the moment the crisis happened, all the hackers got active and they tried to use the COVID-19 security hacking to, prey on the people. So WHO was targeted and they used keywords, like the best part of hackers is they love using special occasions, New Year's, Kim Kardashian, COVID, anything. So they like using these occasions for wreaking mayhem. So this time also it was no difference. The amount of ransomware attacks, phishing attacks, everything went manifold. And in fact, one of the things of the post-COVID world is due to this no-touch technology and, everything is getting digitized. So I would say that the world is getting digitized faster. So therefore, the more digitization we have, the more there is a threat for cybersecurity. So cybersecurity, it used to be like once upon a time, then the company, the IT headquarters was like a fort. You attack the fort, and so you had to secure the fort. But now the attacks are happening everywhere, right? So basically, cybersecurity is one big issue. And one of the things is OT cybersecurity for manufacturing. This is also important because, again, when it comes to the manufacturing, we are going towards Industry 4.0. So as the manufacturing industry goes full digital, cybersecurity is, very paramount for that. So I think before we proceed with the discussion, Alan, you had a presentation. So maybe you can take us through that presentation, and then we'll go towards the discussion.
Thank you very much, Sunil. And I think you made a couple of very important points in this opening. One of the things that we've witnessed is the hackers are taking no break. They don't really do distancing. They continue working, unfortunately, and attacking us. And if we look at the way the threat has evolved in the last 20 years, what Sunil was saying in the very first place is very true. The order of magnitude, just to take one example as an introduction on what kind of world we are living now. The number of records that have been stolen over the last 20 years has grown 3 orders of magnitude. We were talking about 6 million of records stolen 20 years ago. Now we're talking about several billions, 3 powers of 10 of growth. So that sets a little bit the scene of the landscape in which we are operating. The second thing is when we talk about OT, OT offers an expanded perimeter for hackers to attack. And we have to realize something is that these operational technologies were built for speed and reliability, and also the capability of managing huge industrial processes, such as the one you have when you manufacture equipments for cars, for instance. You have very complex manufacturing process, and it is true that operational technology offers a great enhancement in the regulations, in the automations, in the monitoring of these processes. However, these devices, these middleware, were not really designed to be connected to each other's and to be connected to the internet. Actually, if we would have asked the question, not even 20 years ago, maybe 15 or 10 years ago, to operational people, then they would have answered you, well, I don't want to be connected. I don't like the idea that this word of IT, Internet Protocol, is coming and connected my factories, for instance. Now, I see some issues with the sound. If you guys can hear me, I continue. If you guys cannot hear me well, maybe we can fix that.
No, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So what happens is the financial driver, the business benefits of connecting us and connecting all these OT devices to the internet is enormous. So as always, when there is a huge economical benefit, financial benefits at stake, we go with these flows. The CFO is always more powerful than a CISO, right? So this is a reality. OT and IT are converging. So the couple of things I wanted to share with you is the result of a very simple way to address one of the CISO or CIO main issues is when you have this expanded perimeter to protect, you need more investment. You need to explain the risks of not doing, but also you need to justify this overinvestment that sometimes was not budgeted. If we look at what happened in the last 6 months, nobody saw coming the fact that all of a sudden 95% of the working population would be working from home. The best analysts, let's take about the Gartner Group, published in February this year, a study that says it will be 30% of remote worker at the horizon of 2024. Look at what's happening now. It's more than 90%, right? So all of a sudden, there was an acceleration in the last couple of months, and that acceleration calls for perhaps a faster stream of investment in cybersecurity. So what I'm sharing with you today is a financial angle, is an economical angle to help the CIOs and the CISO to justify and to turn cybersecurity not in a cost, but in an investment, which means we start to speak the language of the business. That's one a big evolution of our role in the last year, is we need to talk in terms of risk, we need to talk in terms of money. Our traditional KPIs are expressed in bits and bytes and number of threats, so it's not exactly the same language. And this is a solution that other CISOs have been experiencing very fruitfully in the last 6 months, which is a methodology to justify and to explain security as a return on investment rather than just a cost. Let me go quickly, directly to the points. This is what I was talking about. We normally talk bits and bytes, and all of a sudden we have to appear in the light of the financial people, of the instance of decision making. So let's start with something very simple, right? You can change your language and start to speak risk by realizing that the probability of an event happening times the impact expressed in terms of money give you a risk. Now, when you go about this very simple equation, the real virtue is not the equation. Is in order to solve this equation or to evaluate this risk, you have to prioritize what is it that you need to protect first. And it's a very healthy exercise to go through. what do you want to protect, who are the threat actors, where are the vulnerabilities, and how do you apply control? Very simple questions, but actually very useful questions. And it's not only about the questions, it's about the discussion you start to have with people in operations, with people in finance, with people in other departments than IT in your company. That is a very virtuous circle. So you have two ways of starting. One is to take a pure division between the risk assessment and the opportunity cost of investment. And the second is a little bit more elaborate, and it's called the return on investment on security. Let's go quickly through them. The first one is a simple division, right? You see what happened in the past in terms of shutdowns. You evaluate the costs internally. You estimate the savings from the solution, and you divide them. Simple. If you want to go further in details of that first option, we can do that on a later meeting and go more in detail with actual numbers from you. This is just an overview. The second one is a little bit more elaborate. It calls for a notion that is called annual loss expectancy. How much you think you can probabilistically lose if an event happens with a certain frequency. And if the events cost you 1 million and it may happen every 2 years, you have 500K of annual loss expectancy. Cost of the incident times the probability of annual occurrence of that. And you can find some of these costs in terms of productions in some of the references that I put here, and I'm very glad to share this presentation with you, obviously, after that. And then for the annual rate of occurrence, you also have some reliable sources that you can go into and see how much this may happen, but you can also look into your company history for that. And then you go about populating that. You can have mitigating factors, which is the probability that you have or you have experienced in actually stop the attack. And you can add other costs into consideration. But again, the beauty of that is to keep it simple. I've here just put a very simple example. Say the solution you are considering cost $37,000, and you have an additional $12,500 in some other costs related to the deployment, the training, the configuration and the power of this solution. So that gives you a total cost of $50,000. And then you know that when this happens, it would cost you $500,000, and that it may happen once every 2 years. And here you go. You have a very simple formula that enables you to justify that any dollar you put in that particular solutions brings back $4. And then you find yourself in a different position. You can make it more complex, adding several risks, different factors, but you still have the same principles. I just want to stop here and perhaps open the conversation. But we found, as a community of CISOs, we found these very simple equations being able really to help our fellow CISOs around the world. We can't hear you, Sunil.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, Alan, for that presentation. So I'm sure those formula and all are useful, and we'll get back to that. But Parna, I would like to ask you about a question about core cybersecurity protection. Now, core cybersecurity protection is not featured within all OT infrastructures. What challenges are you witnessing with digital transformation and IT-OT convergence? Parna, if you can take that up.
Yep. Thanks, Sunil, for this question, and it's a very pertinent question at this point of time when we have, the pandemic hitting us very badly. Looking at our industry, if you see for last 1.5 years, the industry is really struggling to catch up with the revenues, with the profitability, with the market share, and all other factors because. The automotive downturn has started, hitting us badly from 2018 itself, and post pandemic the situation became more worse, so we came down to almost zero revenue for almost the first in the first quarter. I'm talking about the Indian financial year quarter. And now I think it's time to focus on the digital transformation in a very rapid pace. And especially I think most of the auto ancillary organizations like us are focusing on two three areas. One is obviously the industry 4.0 implementation to speed up and the digital transformation initiative in the shop floor. Then second is digitizing or completely automating the supply chain, because that is one of the weakest links in the entire business. And third is cybersecurity. Now cybersecurity, one is we focus on cybersecurity as a independent subject. And second is when you talk about IT/OT convergence, cybersecurity also plays a very major role in terms of protecting your data, protecting your protecting your vehicles. So I take OT from two angles. One is basically from inside the plant operations, where we talk about operational technologies like IoT and stuff like that. And second is inside the vehicle. So inside the vehicle also we are having a lot of IoT devices like telematics, machine to machine communication devices, sensors, and many other stuff which are currently being implemented not only in the new generation cars or the two wheelers, also in future, as we move towards autonomous car or more electrification of vehicles, this will be a major input to the vehicles. So I mean, there can be disruption in terms of plant operations, machine uptime, disruption of services, corruption of data. And these things happened. We implemented IoT approximately 5 years back in the group, and now we are doing one of the largest project in near Pune, one of the plants we are, implementing there. And we are calling it as a smart factory. So there will be end-to-end IoT implemented in that factory. Now, one thing which is missing always in this whole scheme of things is uh, whenever we are planning any kind of capex or any kind of investments or any kind of opex, in terms of planning, for any projects, whether it is OT, IoT, or you say any other IT project, we generally tend to miss out the factor called cybersecurity or the security piece. So, like we have taken a policy right now for any projects. If it is, say, for an example, $20,000 or $30,000 of investment, 10 to 15% of the money should be kept for only for security. So generally, this part is always missed out by the CIOs or CISOs. And obviously, when we land up into trouble, we spend more than 10 to 15% to just ensure that the data and the services are up and running and the data is protected to the optimum level. So I think this is one of the major gap areas. And we have seen earlier, in Germany or US, I don't remember right now, there was an incident happened. A car got hacked completely, and the engine was shut down by the hacker, and the guy was completely clueless what happened. And ultimately you have to completely reboot the whole software and then start using the system. Similar thing happens in terms of we get a lot of ransomware attacks or threats, I will say, in our shop floor, because shop floor machines are many of the machines may be industry 3.0 compliant, industry 2.0 compliant, some may be industry 4.0 compliant, but the security architecture inside the plants are always extremely weak. The major security will be in the office areas or in the data centers or in the cloud architecture or many other areas, but inside the plant, inside the shop floor, or rather I will say now inside the car also, there is a major focus on installing the security measures, in terms of protecting the assets. So I think it's of extreme importance at this point of time how to catch up with this part of security. And as Alan rightly pointed out, security has become multifold important in last decade itself, because although security is evolving over a period of time, I think there were decades back. I mean, when I started 30 years back my career, so those days we were to discuss only antivirus and stuff like that. Then we migrated to firewalls, and then we nowadays we are talking about as advanced persistent threats, data leakage prevention, then there's deep packet inspection processes, and many other ransomware prevention. I think many things we are now discussing today. And when we are talking about the shop floor and also the vehicles, and where IoT is proliferation of IoT is very high. Yesterday I was listening to the secretary of our information technology ministry, and the projections are around $10 billion increase of revenue in the IoT market every year is going to happen in India. I think this is a big area of cybersecurity, and there is a change also happening in the industries. People are putting money on cybersecurity, especially like industry like ours, who do not want to invest so much of money. We are looking at security as a service. We are looking at security operations center as an outsource model. So all these things are going on parallelly, and hopefully I think in days to come, security will be a major investment area and major area of focus for the organizations to protect the OT system, so that no disruption happens in terms of your production, your maintenance, your shop floor, your supply chain process. I think those things should run smoothly as the days go to come. But right now, I think still there are a lot of vulnerabilities available in the whole process, and things are getting smoother and simpler, and they are getting robust over a period of time.
Yeah, so Parna, I'll just ask you one additional question to that. So, what kind of cybersecurity measures and solutions do OT leaders need to secure the air gaps? If you could just give me one important solution you think to close the air gaps briefly.
Uh, One may be difficult. I'll say two or three at
Okay,
least.
two,
Say,
two.
say, say for an example, first is your data is in the cloud. Generally, all the IoT data will be in the cloud itself. You need to ensure that your cloud security is at the highest level possible, where the dashboards, the mobile apps, or the other information is coming, the data is processing, and the data is sourced from there. Second is in terms of the machines, we all use the gateways, as you understand. Gateway means IoT gateways we use, and where there is a lot of vulnerability possible in terms of data leakage and data loss possibilities. So there also we need to ensure that the right security measures are implemented, so that when the data is transmitted from the machine to the sensor to the gateway and to the cloud, this entire path is encrypted. So encryption will be one of the major areas of improvement, which requires to be put in a lot of focus when we look at the IoT as a complete architecture.
Okay, so Parna,
Yeah.
thanks for those views. Yeah, I think we're totally running out of time. So, Alan, I'll ask you one very futuristic question. I mean, AI is coming, AI is going to take everyone. Everyone is like concerned about AI. So, could you speak about AI driven security infrastructure, whether it can work in an OT environment?
It's an excellent question. Thank you, Sunil. AI would learn what normal behavior is. In the case of OT, you have different phase of operations. In one phase, you're in production. In one phase, you are in the configuration of your devices. There is no way an order that is an order of a phase of configuration should be seen when you are in production. And artificial intelligence will see all the orders of the Siemens, of all the devices that are involved in the production, and say, uh-oh, this is a funny order at this stage. And maybe funny is normal, and then it will learn, okay, it's normal at this hour of production. But when you get an attack, the hackers will use these orders for a malicious purposes, and the artificial intelligence would detect a gap between your baseline production state and something weird that is doing weird things. And then we will act with our firewall, with our segmentations, with the ability to stop, and we will stop that in real time. So artificial intelligence learns what normal is and acts when there is an abnormal situation that is just about to happen and it stops the damages because before they translate into financial losses.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for that. So is Ashok? Can you put Mansi there? I think we are being joined by one more panelist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi, this is
Hi.
Mansi Thapar.
Hi, Mansi. How are you doing? We are live
I'm
right
good.
now. Yeah.
Great.
So for our audience, we are introducing Mansi Thapar, IT leader, head information security, CISO Jaguar Group. Welcome to the show, Mansi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome to all.
Yes. Yeah, so basically, we have been having a discussion on OT cybersecurity and manufacturing, and we
Hmm.
have already discussed a few issues. So maybe you can join in and take the conversation forward.
Yeah, sure, sure. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to join here, and I was there in the talk yesterday also with Fortinet, which was done. It was it was very well. So by
Okay.
OT, and I would
Thank
just say
you.
that sorry.
I just say thank you for mentioning that, Menshi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Mansi, you can continue.
yeah, so basically, what I would say is that in manufacturing, you can understand that we have now gone from 0% work from home to 100% earlier, and now we are trying to open up our offices and factories and get the things on road. So yes, I would say that because of pandemic, the OT and the cybersecurity things have really moved up. It is now a boardroom topic to discuss that what's happening on the OT front of security. I'll be very frank. Earlier, we most of our devices were not connected on the internet, or they want to take live feeds because they said no, we are okay with the factory and factory managing it remotely and doing the stuff. But now, because people are sitting outside and they don't want to come to the factories every day, plus we have developed our entire line of lighting, which is all IoT enabled. So there also we are struggling with how we should manage our security. We are building up a roadmap. So it is a very new thing to us. That would what I would like to mention. And yes, if we talk about how we are going forward, we are into a roadmap. We are evaluating new technologies, that what we need to do, and we are getting good budgets also now for OT, which were earlier not in place. So I hope I've answered your question, that how we are going forward in OT. I can't hear you.
Yeah, so I'll just say, Mansi, I'll ask you one more thing, and it brings its own security problems. So what would you say is a solution to cover remote employees and also protect all manufacturing assets? How is the
Yeah.
OT looking at WFH and cybersecurity?
Yeah. So first I'll talk about the employees. So for employees, like I have put in a lot of tools, but I would say first and foremost, especially in manufacturing, because see, you need to understand these people are not so tech savvy. And all of a sudden, they are using collaboration tools. All of a sudden, we are asking them to work remotely, maybe take a desktop and laptop home and do work. And earlier, they had all the support in the office available. So first and foremost is the user awareness. So we really need to, put a lot of time on user awareness where employees are concerned. Second is that yes, put in automation and AI ML technologies which can automatically, do your stuff for you. Thirdly, you really need a centralized managed system, like an EDR or an endpoint security, because now I would say that there is no paradigm. It has just shifted from being in the premises to being at home. So you are very vulnerable there. So for employees, if you have anything which is automated and we are protected, that is better rather than looking at employees for protection. That is where
Okay.
employee. So we are really working on endpoint security right now, and we are looking at EDR solutions because it is centrally managed. Because you need to understand the IT teams are also sitting at home, so now they also
Right.
need a centrally replicated system where they can really manage the EDR properly, manage the entire landscape. Now we being a global company, so it gets very difficult to manage endpoint solution or anything without an EDR. And also of course the DLP solutions need to be there, and along with the this thing. So automation, AI ML enabled technologies is what I am really focusing on where endpoints are concerned. Secondly, where OT is concerned, I would say we were just using SCADA systems right now. Nothing much was in place. So we are, really building up that what all technologies we need to work for OT. So that is what is there, because The main thing is that now, like, we have a lot of robots and stuff which have now we've bought in manufacturing, because because of the expansions we are doing and the new things. So now how to protect them? Earlier we were just doing, okay, there's a software running for the robot, and we used to just take a backup of that, and rest everything, it was just managed by the team sitting in the factories. But now they're saying that no, we need it over the internet access for all the reports which are coming in. We need analytics tools. So now we are very this thing, that how we need to protect this data which is going on the internet. So we are looking at a lot of technologies which are available in the market, that where we can really work there in IoT and OT.
Okay.
And
So thank
third,
you, Mansi.
yeah.
Yeah, tell me. Sorry, third.
And
I
also,
forgot.
like as I told you, that now we are bringing up a lot of sensors in our products. We have developed a new line of lighting which is all IoT enabled. So now the thing is that now we are going to the customer. Earlier it was like we need to protect ourselves. So now we need to see that how, if we are giving a product to the customer, we should not get into trouble. So like how we are going to protect that as well. So that is also one thing which is a big focus area for us.
Okay. So anyway, Mansi, thank you for those views. I'd like to bring Alan into this, because a lot of things we have talked about is reactive, but we react to certain situation. But what about a proactive approach? What security measures do OT leaders need to reinforce to take a proactive approach and help protect their infrastructure?
Very good question, Sunil. And I just want to extend the vision
Sure.
that Mansi very
Sure.
rightly depicted, and answering your question at the same time. There is one underlying message I understand in Mansi's vision. It is visibility. We need to be able to see the threat in operations across the cloud in the data, because we cannot protect what we can't see. So to answer your question, in the future, can we be proactive? Yes, we can be proactive with the same idea that Mansi very rightly mentioned, which is visibility. We see the components of a potential malicious attack before they associated and actually execute the attack. There are generally 3 steps, a little bit like the landing, the start, and the deployment in an attack. And there's a model called the Mitra that I could develop maybe in a later call if you're interested. But visibility sees the attack and the building blocks of the attack before they get associated. And sometimes they would land in some place and stay asleep for a while, and then they are activated by something. That signal of activation is associated to the potential presence of the components, and we see that this potentially can be an attack, and we protect ourselves proactively from this attack as it happens. And here again, artificial intelligence is very useful, because what was not an attack maybe 5 hours ago is revealed to be an attack someplace in another of your plants. So we learned at very high speed, we learn that when we see this encryption algorithm, and then we have this order here, and then we detect that there was a server that has been opened with that kind of credential. The combination of these 3 events call for an attack, and we will stop it even before it becomes malicious for the plant, for the data, and for the network.
Okay. So I'd like to now switch to Parna. Now, Parna, there's one thing, like we are heading towards Industry 4.0. We are increasing productivity levels. So can you speak something about that? With more robust cybersecurity, OT leaders can expect benefits such as higher productivity levels. What are the recommended security best practices to keep up with all these changes that are happening?
Yeah. Very difficult question,
please.
but let me try to answer from my end. First of all, we have made a checklist for our organization in terms of buying the machines itself. So whenever we are buying a machine, what are the checklists we should follow? Say, example, encrypted ports, by default the system should be having the firmware upgrade facilities. I'm giving some very low level expectations so that you can understand better. Then those systems can be patched easily. Some
Echo is coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can continue speaking. They will check it at the back end.
Okay, fine. So, these are some of the examples. Then, which kind of ports we should have activated for data transmission to the sensors, and then how to talk to the gateway. I think there are certain specification industry standards available as per the global security standards. We are following those protocols, and we are asking the manufacturing team for before buying the machines. This is point number one. Point number two is while building the architecture of the industry 4.0, or say for an example IoT is a very good example, so it will be much easier to understand. We are ensuring that each layer we have the security, inbuilt security. So if you remember, earlier we used to have, like you rightly pointed out, it was more of a reactive security. Then it came into built-in security. Now we are calling it bolt-in security. So bolt-in means specifically, everything will be inside the system itself. So the hardware itself is security compliant, so that you need not to have further additional security measures into that. So I think this is what the shift is happening. And then after the architecture part is completed, then we are ensuring for each application layer, whether it is mobile application, cloud, or whether it is your internal servers which are there in each plant. So we have right now IoT in 5 plants at this point of time. So each plant, the servers also well protected. So if you see, I mean, the first recommendation will be have a holistic view. Don't have a limit your views to segment by segment, and then land up into certain risks which can be unforeseen. Second will be look at the regular audits, because we also do audits in terms of your cyber security audits in terms of your IoT and industry 4.0 portfolio. So this is the second recommendation. Third is try to follow the global standards which are already there in the market. I mean, there are a lot of security standards available with us. So try to implement those standards as much as possible. So I think these 3-4 recommendations clubbed with the machine security, as I told you, with the machine manufacturers. These are the 3-4 things we are following at this point of time as a point of rule. So then I think your environment will be more protected, and much more easier to manage in terms of the IT portfolio.
Thank you for that. At this stage, I'd like to bring in Mansi. Like we have been discussing everything, cybersecurity, gaps, OT, but one thing we haven't directly touched upon is data. That is, data is oil and all. So,
Yeah.
can you talk about data protection? How important is compliance and regulation in the OT industry?
Yeah, so I would say it is very important because data is our bread and butter also. Because like we have a lot of like we can take an example, like there'll be my costing data, right, which is very important to me. And now how am I putting that data? Where is it traveling? How it is reaching my MD? How I'm protecting it? My dealers are connected, so that entire data is with me. Like what all sales they are doing, what products are being sold, because we have our ERP. Our dealers are using our ERP to do all the sales. So yes, data is very important. And for data also, I like he said, it was perfectly what he mentioned, that we should be having that any kind of standardization or regulations, we should at least try to implement some best practices which are already there, like ISO 27001, which is the information security standard, which talks about CIA, right, which is confidentiality, availability, and integrity of the data and the applications and all that. So pick up a standard, I would also recommend that. And we should definitely, first and foremost, people, process, and technology, all three should be in sync. And then we should implement, where all our risk areas, where what data is, like I can't protect the entire data, right? So you need to make sure which is your critical data. That is very important to note. Classification of data is very important. So some tools around that, if you have in an organization, that is very good, that people are educated and they know that this is confidential, public, private, things like that. You can have a policy around it. So classification of data, your like a DLP kind of a tool, which is very important, that should be in place, at least in the OT setup as well. And also I would say that please make sure that your people are well educated, that how they need to protect their data, because you can put in anything you want. and but still, things happen only, and 70% of the breaches happen because of internal people, and that too which they didn't want to do. It was just that, it just happened. So that is something on data which I would say that is very important.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So that's the data part. Now I'd like to bring Alan in. Another term is like zero trust. The zero trust is also really catching on these days. So CISOs are talking about a zero trust environment, the zero trust concept. How does it work in an OT environment?
Thank you, Sunil, for the question. It's a great concept, but it's not a great word, right?
Yeah.
It seems like we're stopping to trust everybody, and we don't trust our employees. This is not the case. Zero trust means one thing, is every transaction, every device, every user needs to earn the right to access to all the rest of the resources in relationship with his mission, his role, and the moment when it happens. In the case of OT, let's say in car manufacturing, at a certain point, a robot can do this. So he's got the access to a software that enables the robot to move. But at some other points in the manufacturing process, there is no reason for this robot to do that. And that is monitored in real time. So it's not you grant the authorization once forever, but the classification of the device, of the people, of the software, of the activity is earned in real time. And that is a very powerful concept to counter some of the attacks that makes our production chains do crazy things that they should not be doing. And zero trust is enabling at a permanent level to do that. It's not that we stop to love everybody. That is not what it is. But it's like we fall in love when appropriate in relationship with what we have to do, if I may draw this analogy.
Yeah, got it. So again, now I'll come back to you, Parna. Now, OT leaders who are responsible for securing their operation process will need cybersecurity expertise. So now, should CISOs take over there, as there is an increased risk of connected systems, and it impacts business continuity. So how is the cybersecurity skill gap affecting OT on those lines?
Yeah, very good question, and it's related with skill development or competency building and many other stuff. See what is happening. Also, if you have to see, from last 10 years, the role of CISO has completely changed. Earlier, the CISO's job used to do audits and compliance checks, and suggest the board that these are the things to be invested and not, and something like that. I think it was clear, and the output was not at that level what it used to be. But after Companies Law 2013, which has been released in India, at least I can tell you, the role of CISO has significantly increased because board member has to sign information security declarations before the balance sheet is published in the public domain. And in that scenario, what happens is CISO's role has become extremely important, not only for data privacy and security, also in terms of ensuring the company, if it is, say for an example, the companies, if it is listed company in the stock market, you need to have a lot of declarations to the companies, the MCA, to SEBI, and some other regulators. So I think the role of CISO has completely changed. Point number one. Point number two is when it comes to about your OT subject, CISO has to have a very, very important role. CISO's role earlier was managing the security portfolio, asking the infrastructure team or security team to implement certain things, do audit and stuff. Now it is more of governance. So I will say example is most of the IoT platforms are in the cloud. Say for example, I don't want to mention the names. I mean, although you all know which are the IoT platforms available in the market. So any IoT platform, you need to have a proper governance mechanism. So you need to understand what kind of security measures are required as our fellow colleague was talking about regarding the standards, ISO 27001 or any other standards which are available in the market. So you need to understand the governance mechanism. You need to understand the vendor management ecosystem. You need to understand the risk management ecosystem. So I think that part has been added to the CISO's role in the new generation of OT and IT convergence. It is not just managing your homogeneous internal security system. It is also managing cloud vendors, managing the regulators, managing your stakeholders like board members or the shareholders, because they also look at as an organization. If any organization I invest for shares, I don't want to have the organization where the data is getting leaked. So I will think the data governance is extremely weak. They might get my shareholding the data also tomorrow. So I'll be very scared. So I think that stakeholder management, vendor management, risk management, and also internal IT risk management, these are the new portfolios added in the CISO's role, and it is going through a big transformation. I think in future days to come, you will see a lot of more changes coming up as we move more towards cloud and more towards work from home kind of concept. It's more distributed computing. We used to call distributed computing 20 years back, but now it is real distributed computing happening. Now I am working from my home, you're working from your home. It's all distributed. It's not concentrated to offices. So I think this is becoming more dangerous. And suppose you have 4,000 employees or 5,000 employees, and who can attack your system, who can do an insider violation or something, you don't know. So you need to have a very very big vigilance, and there has to be a lot of tools and processes available in the market to support them. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I'll continue with the role of the CISO with Mansi. So there are a lot of issues that you face. Inadequate tools to protect infrastructure, budget constraints, zero-day exploitations. So what do you think are the biggest challenges that CISOs are facing, and how do you solve them?
Yeah, so biggest challenge what I see is that, first and foremost, convincing the C level for a lot of things that, it's the ownership of the departments at the end of the day. So what happens is that if something goes wrong, like now suppose they say that it's a problem of security or IT. But now they need to, first and foremost challenge is that we need to convince them that you are the owner of the risk. A department is the owner of the risk. So that they need, the moment they understand that, this half of your battle is won. So I really spend a lot of time, and that is one of my major challenge. That people say, no, it is a IT work or it is security work. So we explain it to them that you also need to be a part and parcel of maintaining risk. So one is that. Second is, of course, I said user awareness, and third is, yes. See, there are so many tools available in the market. It is a big challenge for CISO what to take, and what not to take. Everybody has got big promises. Now, evaluation time is also reduced because of COVID. Earlier, if I'm doing a POC, I would do it for 3-4 months, be very convinced with the product, and then take it forward. Now, you need to do it very quickly because of the changing scenarios. I need to implement a lot of things quicker. So, the main challenge is so many vendors, what to select, what is the best checklist around it, smaller times of POCs, and also then implementation. See, I can take the best product in the market, but if it is not implemented properly, then it is of waste. It is of waste. So the misconfigurations are one of the key reasons why a breach happens. So that is a major challenge, that you get a good skill set who can come and implement this thing for you. So OEMs are there, but good partners that who can come and implement good things, that is also a big challenge which we face.
Okay. So after that, I'll come to you, Alan, and I'll ask you about newly connected systems. So, what are the challenges that most OT leaders are facing with their newly connected systems?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Sunil. Well, when you have something new coming in, as Parna said, there is a need to do a little bit of evaluation and audit about the scope, the behavioral, the integration of that. That is a very important step to prevent some newly incoming objects or technologies. But what is interesting also is this holistic view also that Parno talked about. Because you may have something new, but you can still very quickly learn the behavioral of this newly integrated object and put it in a condition where, in the beginning, you don't allow it lots of trust i.e., you would be very closely monitoring the effect of this new incoming technology in the overall holistic view of your cybersecurity. And gradually, you get, and the machine learning processes get to know about this object, what normal is. And again, here, it is very important to consider that there are many pillars of a sterling cybersecurity. It's never one technology or one product or one solution. It's a combination of pillars. And in that pillars, you have the artificial intelligence contribution, you have the zero trust network access contribution, you have these things that we call security-driven networking, where the two domains, the networking domain and the security domain, are merged into one. And you have, as we said, this dynamic cloud capability that enables you to leverage some of the resources of the cloud, and some of them are great. Storage, little capex, gradual and agile CPU usage. But some of the things, for instance, are not complying to the regulatories and the laws. So you got all these four pillars, and the role of the CISO is to always adopt this holistic cybersecurity approach, and always keep the freedom of coming back. You may test a cloud service, but you have to come back sometimes and repatriate inside your on-premises some of the elements that you once put in the cloud. Now, in order to do that in a virtuous manner, you have to have a security policy that transcends that diversity. Security policy should be one, and then your architecture can be distributed, can be a hybridation of cloud possibilities, internal data centers, and a combination of all the above. So 4 pillars and one integrated holistic view. I love the adjective that Parna mentioned about that, because it's been part of Fortinet vision of cybersecurity since the beginning.
Okay, so actually we are totally out of time, but I'll stick with you, Alan. I'll ask the same question to all three of you. So basically, I'm just saying now, I wanted to make a future prediction or a future trend or the biggest problem of the 2020s. We are living in a post-COVID world. A high level of digital transformation has taken place. IT, OT convergence has happened. So now, can you tell me in this OT space one big trend or prediction or some problem which we are going to face? So I think Alan can first speak, then Parna, and maybe Mansi can have the last word. So if you could.
I would say the deep integration, deeper and deeper, between the OT world and the IT world. Fully integrated, so that there is no boundaries between the two domains, and that integrations calls for a lot of benefits financially, but human as well. Human benefits is important because we need the human brain to invent and to be creative, and we need the machine to do the repetitive task and the correlation between the logs. So my prediction is more artificial intelligence, but more human as well, and I don't think there is a conflict in cybersecurity between the man and the machine.
Great. Parna, can you?
Yeah. So I have just one interesting
Sure.
point. I look at it from a different point angle.
Okay.
Where there is a threat, there is an
Right.
opportunity. So I repeat, where there is a threat, there is an opportunity. So before the OT fix their problem, IT should actually cope up, with the expectation of the organization, and look at the futuristic trends which are coming up, and to protect the assets and the services, both from the OT point of view. Second point, what Alan said, I completely support and agree on that. I think security is also evolving now, and we need to have thrust on less human intervention in terms of security threat intelligence posture. So say for an example, earlier we used to monitor the CM systems, the security incident and event management solutions. Each and every traffic used to be monitored, then a correlation used to happen, then a report used to come up next day, and then we start taking action on that. Now things have to be more AI driven, analytics driven, machine learning driven, and things should come up automatically. So this like example I'll give you, during this pandemic there was an alert from government of India, and we have immediately blocked some of our neighboring countries traffic, some of the countries which are vulnerable. I don't want to name them in this public forum. So I think 7 8 countries traffic, global traffic, actually we blocked. Now, if AI can do this activity tomorrow, today I am doing it as a human being, and I might miss out some of them while doing it. So tomorrow, if AI can do this activity, say it automatically, detects and prevents also, then my job will be over. And the way Alan also explained, then human being can do much better job in terms of analysis, taking further actions, where to invest, how to take the next, the future, steps. I think those will be a focus area instead of doing the repetitive routine tasks, which can be easily automated. So I think I am also looking at the way BPO industry evolved, the way IT industry evolved. I think the security industry is also evolving now, and more automation will be coming up. And I believe AI should be one of the major, and also I believe blockchain. I think another subject, blockchain in security, we are not discussing nowadays, but I think this is going to come up in next 5 years for sure. Blockchain will be another subject which will be talking about divergent products and scenarios where security can be implemented horizontally. I think this will also be coming up in days to come. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think they all both covered most of it. I would just like to add that what I feel is that now people are more receptive, and they want to collaborate and do things. Earlier, mostly the OT industries, they did not want to say that I've been breached or things like that. But now what I feel is that government as well as the CISOs and the entire industry is open for collaboration, and to talk and discuss and get things done. So that trend I think will increase. Second is, yes, AI ML is the new thing which is there, but yes, we have to be very careful about it as well. And third is that, yes, what I really feel is that now a lot of spending will be seen on automation trainings as well. That is what I really feel, that people now, even if I'm hiring for a factory, I would say that at least he needs to pass some kind of cybersecurity check. Maybe I've developed it in their language and do it, but yes, because everything now will be IT or IoT enabled, so they need to have some basic level of security, even for the foreman or someone who is working on the factory floor. So that trend is, I'm sure, going to increase. That we really need now tech savvy and people who at least understand the security piece, that what is expected from them. So that trend should increase. That is what I feel.
And one, sorry, I think I am just jumping into the discussion. One new trend has also happened. The board members are now asking about security earlier, which was not the trend.
I
So now,
I
if you
agree.
see,
I
each and
agree.
every board member will be asking, "Are we really secured? Do we have the right cyber security posture in the organization?" They are
Right.
asking this question. Earlier, this was not the trend.
Right.
Very good. I agree.
So anyway, that was a very engrossing decision, and the way Parna spoke, it felt like we are just starting. But I can't help it; we are running out of time. And I mean, the manufacturing industry is worth not millions, billions, but trillions of dollars. If you look at the global manufacturing industry, so OT cybersecurity is a huge issue. So I think these are very important things we discussed. So I thank you all. Thank you, Mansi. Thank you, Alan. Thank you,
It was a
Parna. It was a
privilege.
great
Thank
discussion.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.